Usually when people tell me that they've seen and enjoyed my show, they usually follow that by telling me why they're up. Which for me is really embarrassing because they say, I really love your show. Let me explain. I have a rash. I have to apply the cream every 45 minutes. And I'm up at 12:30 and you're on. I figure, what? Yes, Moby. You realize Moby and I tour together. This is what we do. I'm in the audience. I'm always the first to ask him a question. He's always the first to ask me a question. Yes, Moby, our first question. I don't know if everyone can hear you. He said it's a profoundly attractive...
As a profoundly attractive and intelligent member of the show business community,
yes.
What advice would you have for people in show business?
Well, I think it's all how you look. I think that's really that got me to the business and that sustained me. So you have to have a nice head of hair. Sorry, I think it sustained me. This hair had a lot to do with my rise in show business.
Who's the most difficult person that you work with and the best person that you work with as far as interviewing?
Interviewing, best people would be Tom Hanks, because you find out sometimes that the biggest stars are the easiest to work with. They have, and there's a reason why they're big stars. Tom Hanks has a great attitude, will show up early. If you have a funny idea and you want to do a sketch, I think not too long ago, maybe about 2 years ago, we had an idea where we dumped a ton of snow on him, fake snow, in the interview segment. He's a huge star. He's probably one of the 5 biggest movie stars in the world. And he said that sounds really funny, and he came to rehearsal and he worked it out with us. And Jim Carrey's amazing to work with because he'll show up early. He wants to make it funny. He brings a lot of ideas of his own on how to make it good. So there are people like that who are huge stars, and you can see by just talking to them how they got where they are, which is they're still working hard to make it good. They understand that their 4 minutes on my late night show is an opportunity to promote their movie, and they want it to be funny. Whereas you see a lot of people who are in the middle of the pack or further down the pack who don't try very hard, and they almost have an attitude. They're insecure about their level of celebrity, so as a result, they don't try very hard, and I think they're afraid to. They're afraid to try hard and fail, so they don't. And no, I never, I had a driving instructor once. He gave me some advice, and I'm going to tell you, because I think you're a bad driver. And he said when you're trying to drive between like 2 poles or 2 cars, he said the common mistake people make is they look at the car on the left when they're trying to drive by, or look at the car on the right. He said your car will pull in the direction that you're looking. So if you look at the car you're trying to squeeze past, you will hit it. And I always thought that was a great metaphor for creativity, which is if you obsess about what someone else is doing in a paranoid way, you're going to unconsciously start to imitate them. So I don't watch a lot of late night television. I sort of check it out every now and then to see who is a guest, or if I hear something was really funny, maybe I'll check it out. But for the most part, I don't look at it that much. What fuels me is going home at night and watching documentaries on the History Channel, watching anything that doesn't have comedy in it, watching anything that, reading. I try and read a lot. I try and immerse myself in like different parts of the culture, because that's, I think, where I get creative ideas. The worst thing I think I could do would be to watch a lot of like Leno and Letterman and these guys, because I think, well, what am I doing then? Then I'm just going to start to unconsciously copy the way they introduce Regis, and that doesn't seem that interesting to me. I think there was one audience about 4 years ago that we had. It was an entire audience who was only there to see the band. And that happens every now and then. And it was a death metal band called At the Drive-Thru, at the Drive-In. And all the bands wore black, and all the songs were about death and annihilation. And so what happened was, unfortunately, they were booked long in advance, which is always a mistake when you're booking a pro-death band. Don't book them long in advance. Book them at the last second, because then there's no time for people to scramble. But they were booked a long time in advance, and it was on the internet, so all of their fans came, and I didn't know anything about this. I didn't know who this band was, so I come out to see the audience just before the show, and they're all wearing black t-shirts. And I come running out, and I'm like, hey, everybody, we got a good show. And they were staring at me, and it was a Hitler Youth rally, pretty much. And it was the scariest night, they were not interested in me. They were any attempt at comedy offended their pro-death, pro-annihilation message to the young people of the world. And then at the end of the night, their band came out, and even then they weren't excited. They were just like, yes, you know, it was a joyless evening, and I haven't relived it until you asked me.